Honorable Professor, and my dear classmates, Assalamu alaikum. Let's start with the name of Allah, the most merciful to all. So today my presentation topic is about persuasive messages, in which we're going to be discussing planning, writing, and completing it. So let's begin. Let's go to the agenda. So the agenda or the outline, whatever you want to name it, is going to be, first we're going to discuss that what is it and why is it important to actually study, discuss, and to learn that how we need to write the persuasive messages. The third next topics are going to be the steps that we are going to be discussing, that how a person should actually plan, write, and conclude the messages as well. And in this we'll understand our target audience, we will understand the situations, we will understand the requirements of the situations, and we will also in fact see some of the real-time examples that I have messaged to some of my clients in my freelancing, that how I have been persuasive in that context. And then we're going to be discussing about the conclusion. So let's begin. Now EMLI5, that's a technique of explaining something to some people, right? EMLI5 actually stands for explain me like I'm 5, or explain me like I'm 5 years old. Now just to make you things understand, I have, let's say, wrote down the introduction in the most understandable, or you can say a little bit persuasive way, that I can persuade you to understand the main crux, the main idea of the topic, right? So as you can see, in the first one it says that persuasive messages in the business world aim to influence, convince recipients to specific actions or adopt viewpoints. What we have to do, the first thing, that we need to convince or influence people to do some specific actions or adopt any viewpoints. Now these viewpoints might be a little bit confusing, that what viewpoints are you talking about? Do we need to influence someone to do something or think like us? Well, both of them. We're going to discuss that. They serve various purposes and are used in sales, marketing, negotiation, internal communications, and other contexts, which we're going to be discussing in details. Now guys, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of actually sending or learning persuasive messages? Why it cannot be just a very ordinary message that we like text to our friends, our relatives, or parents, like buddies, if we want to ask for something or if we want to present an idea to them? Why do we always need to be persuasive? Why do we need to be formal? Why do we need a structure to follow? Why are we learning this today? So that's what we need to understand, all right? First thing is influence decision making. So in some organizations, what happens that we need to influence some people that they should take a certain decisions based on certain situations. Suppose, for example, the primary purpose is to influence the recipient's decision making the process favor in sender's position or proposal. Means the person who is sending a persuasive message, or his or her target audience would be those people in fact that are maybe they need a little bit assistance by some people within their organization. They are confused in taking a decision. Suppose, for example, take an example of our university. Okay, we study in the master department. Our honorable chairperson of the department, he might be a little bit confused in taking some decisions, some really big vital decisions. So some of the professors, some of the really worthy professors and teachers could actually be a very formal and send them a report or send them an email or anything like that to actually persuade them, to help them to take a certain decision. Number one. Number two, achieving business goals. Now it is very simple by its name, that for instance, if I'm sending people some business proposals, as we actually all did in another subject, introduction to business, what we were doing in that subject, we were actually making the business proposals. Okay, we were actually crafting the entire business plan on the business canvas. So that was also to actually promote whatever the thing we were having. Building relationships. Now why building relationships are important? Why you need to be loyal? Why, if you want to build a relationship, you got to keep this thing in the mind that it should be long term at the same time. Why not to have a short term relationship and voila, forget about it? The reason why it is that there is a concept of customer retention. It is very important in the business world. What I have experienced as well in my freelancing, let's say, area, that I have come across some of the customers who actually hire me, but whenever I discuss with them the business models of your entire business, they always say, see, Mr. Shayan, we want customer retention. We want the customers to come back. We want repetitive customers. Whereas, where else before this instance, I was thinking in a different way. I was like, you get one customer, you do the job, you forget about them. No, but they were having a different strategy, that why to let go of them? Why not to make them your permanent customers? Why not to have long-term relationships with them? Now, the last two, changing perceptions. Well, the changing perception, this is actually really important. I'm going to discuss this in the further slides, where we're going to be understanding some real-time examples. Why a person or a company or a small business or a small enterprise needs to change the perception about the company in the people's or in the audience mind, or about the product that they're selling. There are some real-time examples that we're in fact going to discuss about them, which will in fact include Food Panda itself, and another example, some restaurant business. There could be a lot of them, but these are the two which I have come across. So let there be a little bit suspense. Creating call to action. Now see, this is something very important. Your customers or the people you are targeting, maybe not customers, maybe your seniors, just like the mustard example that I gave you. Some people, they don't know what to do, or maybe they just want a little bit back, a little bit push to actually, get on the line of action. So to help them to do that, you have to be more structured, or let's say pro-structured or proactive in this situation, that you can actually strategize the line of actions for them. All right, sir. So for example, in the mustard example, I'm going to use the same example to make you things understand even in a better way. For instance, they want to take a decision that they want to conduct the classes, whether here or in the mustard department. They need a little bit understanding about that. Maybe a professor is approaching to the chairperson through a proper presentation, a proper response, and instead of talking jargons, just making it long email, not effective, not efficient, instead of that, that professor who is going to write email to the chairperson is going to be structured. All right, sir, in my opinion, these are the following line of actions which I think would be much better in the department's benefit. What will happen after that? The chairperson of the department will get a clear image, a clear line of action that, okay, so if XYZ professor is doing that, okay, so they mean like this, do it in this certain way. People, this is something really amazing. One of my clients told me that rich people, when she said me in the terms of rich people, she said that, people are naive, or some people, they don't have this ability to have, some actions, but despite that, they get the positions. Anyways, we're going to talk further about that. Now, that could be done. That could be done, let's say, in terms of newsletters, in terms of emails, or in terms of formal reports as well. Moving further, now there's a very famous quote by the Steve Jobs, and we all know who is he. He was an American business magnate, inventor, and investor. He said this, that customers don't know what they want until you show it to them. A very important message. We of course acknowledge this thing that we need to find the needs in the market. But is that it? Is that it? Finally, you found a need in the market, that in Pakistan, let's say that we need a mobile phone application, something in competition with Uber, Careem, or something like that. But do you exactly know that what people want? Because this is on the surface level. What about the exact needs? How easy that application should be for the people who cannot even read and write? So see, these are all the things. So now over here, you need to market yourself. You need to express the things in a very easier language with a very good structure. Of course, the main line is that highlighting the role of innovation and visionary thinking in persuading clients to embrace the new ideas or products. Because we all know about the Shark Tank, right? Why some of the projects are not selected in the Shark Tank? You all have seen Shark Tank. Who have seen Shark Tank? Very nice. So in that, a lot of ideas are being rejected. Why? Have you ever thought about that? Because maybe they are presenting a new idea, but is it enough viable, fruitful, that the judges or the think tanks sitting, the panel sitting, are being embraced by the new idea? Are they having the intrigue? So let's discuss further about that. Who are your recipients? Who are your recipients? Of course, it's a huge detail written, but the only thing that we need to focus is the bold text over here. In the first one, marketing and sales. Marketing and sales. The first one, the recipients could be potential customers or clients, and the purpose is to convince them offering being presented in a valuable and meets their needs, which is self-explanatory by itself. The next one is negotiating proposals. How would you present a negotiating proposals? Because in all these things, you have to be persuasive. You have to close the deal. You have to close the deal, right? The recipients here could be other business individuals whom are trying to reach an agreement. See, as I told you before, some people are naive. They are like, for instance, if someone is reaching to me to acquire my services, but I told them, all right, you know what, I'm going to charge you $50 for 5 classes. But that person is saying, I don't know, Shayan, whether I should, go with your services or not. How many hours are going to be there? What topics are going to be covering? Over there, again, you need to be structured. You need to give that person some space to think. There are, no problem. If you don't want to buy my services, it's okay. But take a free lesson maybe. Or maybe take a product, try it. So that's what we need to focus over here. Number 3, internal communications. Just the way I gave you example of the university, it is not necessary that this entire persuasive messages should be only in the world of business, marketing. But it could be a part of your corporate life as well. Maybe you're working somewhere. Maybe you need to persuade your employees, your management, or the stakeholders of the company related to some decision making, some very, very vital decision making of the company, right? Then we have public relationships. Public relationships, here I use the example of Food Panda and restaurants. Now it says over here that in the corporate world, persuasive messages are often used in public relation efforts. How? They could be directed towards the general public, media outlets, or other stakeholders. Shape public opinion. To shape public opinion, improve company's image, or handle crisis. Now last 3 points, shape public opinion, improve company's name, and handle crisis. What the businesses around the world are facing a huge backlash from their customers is, for instance, I have saw a news report on, in fact, a Western media channel. They were saying that they were having some kind of problem with the people who are vegetarian and non-vegetarian people. What the non-vegetarian people are doing, that after going to their restaurants, seeing that they are serving the non-veg food to, let's say, to the other people as well, means meat or anything like that. So these vegetarian people, what they're doing after eating and getting the services from the restaurant, they are putting bad reviews. Now the restaurant owner was like confused. He was like, I'm serving them, I'm giving them whatever they asked, and despite that they're giving me wrong reviews, which ultimately is dropping the image of the restaurant in the whole market. So it is also necessary to actually generate maybe memos or public reports to address the wider audience that, see, the business that we are doing, we are serving the vegetarian customers, non-veg customers as well. So there should be something like that. Food Panda, exactly same thing. If you ever open your Food Panda application here in Hyderabad, you're going to find a lot of restaurants who serve cheap food, good food, and actually healthy food. Despite that, if you go in the ratings are like 3.8, 3.7. In fact, in some case scenarios, I've seen 2.9 as well. Now, what is the mistake of that particular restaurant? So I think as customers, we need to be a little bit sensible, loyal, and a little bit professional as well in terms of giving ratings to the restaurants. Persuasive reports. To convince the superior team members, clients to support particular course of action, invest, or in a specific project. Again, the same example of the corporate world. So let's continue. Now, the line of action, the 3 steps, in fact, what we're going to be talking about. Very simple. Number 1, we're going to talk about planning a persuasive message. Then we're going to talk about writing a persuasive message, and then completing a persuasive message. Now, you might ask a question. You might have a question that, Shayan, we can do that right in a way in a very small email. But that particular email or that particular news report is going to play a major role in supporting your idea, your decision, your influencing idea, or your business. So you have to make sure that you follow each step very, very carefully. That's why the concept of proofreading is introduced and done a lot. After that, now after showing you this slide, I will show you that how did a client approach me, what type of messages, a little bit conversation I had with them. Define your objective. See, before explaining you this slide, I'm going to tell you one thing very simple. In this entire, we're going to discuss that how do we need to design and structure our messages. So it's all about that. Define your objective. Your objective is very necessary. Take an instance of sending an email to somebody. People in the corporate world or in the professional world, sometimes they really don't have enough time to read your entire emails. For instance, some people in the classroom who are in fact reading Dawn newspaper, and the letters to the editor are been sent to those people, the editors, the news report, let's say the newspaper. So a person has to be very precise in doing so. Even I tried to send something at Dawn, but it was never approved because they are really, really careful that how much you have written and actually your subject line, the subject where you write the subject of the email, that itself should be self-explanatory, that what you are going to be discussing, is it going to be really worth reading or not? So this main line or the subject line plays a huge role. Identifying your audience, again, people don't care to tailor their messages or their, let's say, promotional messages or their reports for the particular audience. Just take a real-time example. We make a CV, we make a resume, and we try to send that to every company or for every position. We don't understand that what my employer at that moment is wanting from me. We never care about that thing, but instead we just share the one made thing, one CV, one resume. I've seen some people sending same cover letters even without tailoring them to all the organizations, which in fact is a catastrophe itself. You're not going to get enough replies. Gathering information. Conduct research and gather relevant data or evidence that supports your argument. Statistics, case studies, testimonials, expert opinions can add credibility to your message. Now, the third point, it is not necessary for every case scenario. For instance, if you're sending a business message to anybody, in that case, you might need to use maybe your reviews. You might need to put up your website or your portfolio, that how you are doing and how you have been serving other customers. Because tell me this thing, why a potential client, okay, why a prospect would be interested in your services without knowing that how you have been serving the people before them. So that's really important over here. Number 4, consider counter arguments. Please do your homework always. That think, brainstorm, that to whomever you are approaching, what kind of questions they might be having to ask from you. How will you counter those questions? Or are you going to be like blank, that, all right, sorry, mister, I'm going to get back to you maybe later on about that. Maybe you can say about 1 or 2 questions, but the chance comes only for one time. You need to seize that opportunity because you don't know whether that client is going to, or maybe not client, let's say a prospect to be client. Is he or she going to be available the next time or no? Or maybe that's your only one chance. So you need to do your prior homework. Choose the right approach, all right? So over here, different audiences may respond better, emotional appeals, logical reasoning, or a combination of both. Some people, which is, okay, this point is considered a little bit non-professional, but it works. Some clients, we are having some potential clients who are more, let's say, responsive to some emotional messages. Emotional messages, for instance, if you sell the client a product, he or she will be more interested to actually test that product first. Why not to offer that client that, hey, you know what, I'm going to send you one free product as well. I want you to try it for us. Maybe that client is interested, or maybe then that client is saying, oh my God, he's such a great person. He's going to send me this product for free. Why not to try it and then give your review? So the idea is to give space to your client to think. Don't capture them from every side. Outline your message. Create a clear, structured outline for persuasive message. Again, we're going to talk about the structure. Your clients are not always the expert of the language. Okay, they might not understand your difficult vocabulary of business, Maybe they want some easy language. Yet again, we're going to go the previous point that we discussed before, that know your audience, understand your audience, where they're coming from, what sort of business they're having, what you think, what does your sixth sense says, or what does your intelligent or critical approach says, that what type of language this client will understand. Should I use professional, very difficult vocabulary, or simple vocabulary, structured, and job done? Now, I would like to show you a real-time example that how did a client reach to me, what type of message he did to me, and what kind of response I gave to him. Now, this first example is actually about the counter argument. In this particular example, he was my client, actually a successful client whom I was able to successfully close a deal with. He was from US. He said that, hello, I have a strong tutoring company for scholars grade 3 to 6 in the United States, and we are looking for additional dedicated online tutors. Would you be interested in tutoring 10 to 12 hours a week with our company? Of course, our rates would be same rate as direct pay. However, we would be able to provide with a supplement income to your current business. Now, I needed to analyze the message very carefully because this client is from a completely different hemisphere, a completely different continent. First thing that I needed to understand that whether my time zone is going to match with them or not. Immediately, I texted them, hello dear. First of all, thank you so much for considering me as a trusted tutor on the platform, commenting. Because see, the dissection of the message is very important. You need to, cut it down. You need to, become a doctor here. First line says that, all right, you know what? Thank you so much for first, appreciating me as a trusted tutor through my testimonials or whatever. Definitely, I will be more than glad to work for you. However, immediately point, however, the only area of concern me is the timings because you're based in the United States. To address now, after this point, that customer will be thinking, all right, if I would have ended the message over here and then not written what I've written over here, the client would be thinking that, all right, so now what to do? What is the line of action, right? Then I had to, give him the line of action, which I was discussing in the mustard example as well, that, okay, you know what? To address all these problems, let's do something. I would like to discuss with you face to face on a video call. Are you available right now? Are you available right now? Or maybe are you available today? Actually giving him the immediate line of action. All right, this is what comes in my mind. This is what we need to do. Are you available or whatever? So this was an example, but keep this in mind because this customer was very much direct in his conversation. He did not approach me saying, hi, hello, how are you doing? So that's why, because he was very much direct, I had to be very direct over here. However, coming immediately to my problem over here. So that was a real-time example. Now, step number two. How will you write it? Start with an attention-grabbing opening. The beginning of your message should be immediately capture the recipient's attention. Build credibility, present your arguments. All these things are what you have seen, a real-time example which I've shown you before. It actually encapsulates that, right? How would you grab the attention of the person? What type of language lines would you write? And you need to build credibility. Share your testimonials, share your opinions, your clients, the past client's opinion. Present your arguments as well. Give some examples, give some evidences. Then address the objections, use emotional appeals if appropriate, and include the call to the actions as well. That now what is the next step? What should be the next step? One real-time example. Over here, it was a very, very generic message done by one of my another successful clients, in fact, which I was able to successfully close a deal with. He was saying that, hello, I'm preparing for a group exercise and one-to-one interview to become a pilot. I haven't spoken English for a long time, so I need to practice. Which package would be suitable for me? Now, from this message, it seems that he has already made his mind to actually take my services, but actually he's confused to select which package is correct for me. Then over here, I did not bother to send him a very amazing message, but instead I sended him a template which is already ready, which is a very direct, just the way the direct message he did to me. So this is something that you need to understand. Over here as well, line of action, very important, call to action. So if you're free today, let me know that I can schedule a Zoom meeting. And this gives some credibility, gives some free space for the people to think. This meeting is free of cost, so don't worry. This meeting is free of cost, so don't worry. So this is how you give value to the customers. Then completing a persuasive message, you need to review it, you need to simplicize it, you need to test your message, send to your friends, colleagues, see if the language you're writing, is it okay or not. Have a little bit proofread, final layout, follow up and monitor if appropriate. Then the summary. Now, wrapping this entire thing up. Very simple, guys. First things first, please use some brainstorming. Plan your messages, understand them. Write a message with attention-grabbing opening, and then complete the messaging by reviewing, simplifying with the effectiveness. The last one, a very important quote by Maya Angelou, American memoirist, poet, and civil rights activist. Again, for the marketing for the business students. I've learned that the people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will not forget how you made them feel. And in fact, in my last example, I made that person feel that, hey, you know what? This meeting is free of cost. So let's come on the board. Let's be face to face instead of texting, and we can do that. So everybody, thank you so much for being part of this presentation. In fact, I've made my website as well. You can contact me or see my portfolio over there. Thank you so much.
You are writing a statement of purpose that you wanted to do PhD or MPhil program in Italy or Germany or any country, and you sought admission, but you don't have money to fund yourself the scholarship. So you have to write a wonderful essay about yourself. As Shayan told you about how people will value you. When you say the word value, means do you have any value of life? Let me explain, elaborate.
Sorry, can I plug it here?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're holding it.
Yeah, no problem, sir. Please.
Yeah, values like how you value people in your country. How you value poor people, because you want 10 million to complete your PhD degree. How much you have contributed in your community, in your educational or a professional life. So they wanted to see whether you have contributed something academically, in society you have same approach, what you are expecting from others. So there are different ways. Say you are applying for a job. You are not sure that your interview went well or not. You are waiting for response. The interview committee is going to think about you, but your thank you note is a persuasion message, a letter of persuasion. And you are talking about them, that I have gone through your website. Those things you haven't said in that interview, you may write it down in 1 or 2 lines, not in paragraphs. It might give a good gesture. Maybe not this time, maybe next time. After 2 months, the person who been selected is not you, left the job after 2 months, you might be the second candidate. Because in the database, your name is there, a person who has given a very good interview and written a very good thank you letter in which you mentioned something interesting which you couldn't got any chance to explain in that interview. Visa officers, it's very tricky. Sometimes they ask you so many interesting questions. Before asking you to come for the interview, they might expect some communications. How organized you are in submitting your documents. And that documents followed by some dialogue box in which you have to write certain sentences which tells about the money trail you got. Say, for example, you have to explain your bank statement. For example, you have to explain the journey of your academics, the journey of your work experience, and the values what I was discussing earlier at school level, at college, at university, how you have served the society, and you have that same feeling when you come back after PhD, how you will contribute back to the society. I hope you understood that how all this persuasion is important. Persuasion is not for short-term goals. It shows your vision as a good human. So a good letter presents your personality, your values, your own values. So that's what persuasion is. So thank you very much, Shayan, and thank you very much for doing this.